For the section of Curious Incident that I am directing, my main characters are Christopher, Judy, Ed, Roger, and Siobhan. So for each of these, I had quite strong ideas of what I wanted them to look like. So ideally, my Christopher, he'd be fairly tall, so like kind of like an average height for men, I feel like. And quite lanky as well, I guess. So like quite skinny. Kind of average height. Hair colour, I didn't really think about too much. I'd say probably brown, as well as for Ed and Judy, just so they're all quite similar. And then other than that, I feel like it could be a bit of anything. I wanted his voice to be quite monotonous as well, in a way, because I feel like Christopher wouldn't really speak very energetically. So whether that be an acting thing that they can do, or whether that's their natural voice, it wouldn't really matter as long as they're able to do that. For my Judy, I wanted her to be kind of tomboyish in a way, because she runs away from Christopher. I kind of wanted her to be kind of rebellious a bit. So I wanted her to be kind of medium height as well. A bit shorter than Christopher though. And kind of dark brown hair, I feel like. And I definitely wanted her to wear some sort of red throughout it. Just because Christopher likes the colour red, and I feel like they get on really well. And Judy actually tries in this section to look after him. I wanted her to kind of look fairly rebellious. I don't like either her hairstyle be quite unique, so maybe have some of her head shaved or something like that, or have a few piercings, maybe like a nose ring or something, but something that just kind of stands out to people as not being normal or the usual, especially for a mum. I also wanted her to look young-ish, so maybe like early 30s, so like she had Christopher when she was quite young, because Christopher's meant to be 15, I think, so Julie being early to mid-30s would make her around 20 when she had him, which I feel like would work quite well. For Ed, I initially wanted him to be... The original Ed that they had in the actual play was quite tall, kind of muscular. So that's the initial thing that I had in my mind, because I've seen that before. But then I kind of wanted to go against that because I had Judy the way she was. I was kind of playing for stereotypes in a parent role. So I wanted him to be a bit more like Christopher in his build, so fairly tall, quite skinny and lanky. I'd say I wanted him to be a bit taller than Christopher, or the same height, but not smaller. Brown hair again, possibly a bit lighter. So have kind of a light brown for Ed, medium brown for Christopher, and dark for Judy. Just so they kind of all play off each other, and it makes sense that that's what Christopher would look like. I definitely want him to be very similar to Christopher. So I feel like if I was casting it, I'd definitely have to do Christopher first, and then take Ed from that to see how Christopher looks, and then reflect that on Ed. I feel like with eye colour for all three of them, it wouldn't matter as such, as long as it's like kind of like a browny blue. As long as one of them isn't completely different to the others, I don't think it would matter that much, especially on a stage you wouldn't really notice. And then Roger, Mr. Shears, I definitely had a very strong idea for him of being kind of what a lot of people think Ed is being, so quite tall, quite muscular, because in the scenes where he is being quite violent towards them, it would kind of accentuate that a bit more and make it a lot more scary for the audience, because they know that that Roger would be capable of doing something quite harmful. So tall, muscular. I'd say hair colour kind of dark browny black again. Just because I feel like blonde hair would make him feel a bit softer, I guess, if you're playing to stereotypes. Which I guess in the theatre sometimes you have to if you're just playing off looks. Again, eye colour, just because you're quite far away, I don't think it would matter all that much what it is. The clothing choices I'd have for him, I was thinking maybe a potentially a leather jacket type of thing, so a very manly man type look, so either jeans or quite fitted trousers, like a basic t-shirt and a leather jacket. For Ed, I was thinking maybe more of like a check shirt, possibly a red check shirt, just because he has grown up with Christopher. He definitely can't wear yellow just because he knows that he hates it. So maybe Roger would wear yellow or brown to kind of use the colours to show the audience who is like Christopher's favourite people. Judy, it could kind of go anywhere. So some ideas I've had was like a red polka dot, like skater skirt type thing. But then I thought that that might not really fit with the theme I'm going with her. But then I also feel like trousers wouldn't either, I guess. So with her costume, ideally, I'd have to kind of draw out quite a few ideas and figure out what would be best for her. With Siobhan, the first thing I thought of was very friendly looking, a lot more motherly, so potentially some sort of cardigan. Just because Christopher looks up to her so much, I feel like she's definitely a mother figure to him. So I wanted her to represent that whole side of it for him. Especially in one of the scenes that I'm doing, there's a line of saying, of Christopher saying to Siobhan, "Can I live at your house?" And Siobhan saying that she isn't his mum, and that he needs to remember that. So I feel like she definitely needs to be quite a motherly figure, so like a soft skirt, some sort of blouse and a cardigan. Looks wise, I was thinking kind of mousy brown hair, a little bit frizzy, but just below shoulder length, and to be quite lean, fairly short, but fairly young as well, potentially early 40s. So still in a reasonable length of time for her to be his mum. In reality, I got a few of them fairly similar. So the Christopher I got was quite similar to who I wanted. He did have ginger hair, but he was kind of average height, fairly lanky, quite skinny, and he had this sort of monotonous voice that I really thought would suit Christopher. My Judy that I got, she was kind of an in-between. She had kind of like the dark brown hair, looked a little bit out of the norm, but not so much that really struck me as being kind of like this Judy that I had in my mind, but enough so that it's not completely far from what I wanted. My Ed was quite different. He was really small, he was shorter than Christopher, which was a little bit annoying to me at first. He had like the kind of build, he was quite skinny, similar hair colour that I wanted, but he just wasn't, I didn't feel like he had the sort of presence that I wanted my Ed to have. My Roger was quite different from what I wanted. He was quite stocky, I guess, but just not quite this complete like masculine figure that I wanted. So I feel like with Ed and Roger is where kind of let me down from what I wanted, because Siobhan, she was quite similar to what I had in my mind. She was kind of short, had the sort of hair that I wanted. She did have dip-dyed hair with blonde at the bottom, which wouldn't have really suited the age that I was imagining her to be. But overall it worked fairly well, I guess, and the five of them together all got on quite well. But there just wasn't this sort of stark difference between Ed and Roger that I wanted. And kind of like the family relationship between Christopher, Judy and Ed just wasn't quite there. But as we are working in quite like a school setting, I knew I wasn't going to get exactly what I wanted, so I was prepared to not have what I had in mind and had to compromise a little bit. For the most part, with the 5 of them, they kind of got what I was going with for their character style and how they act. A lot of them were quite familiar with the play and the book anyway, so that was fairly useful. The only thing with Judy was that while she had this kind of rebellious feel to her when she was acting, she still cares about Christopher and wants to look after him, so I did kind of want a slight motherly feel to it to slowly increase as it goes on, especially in the scene where they run away from Roger. So I feel like that potentially could have been worked on it more, brought across to her more effectively. My Ed didn't feel... I wanted him to be very fatherly and look after him as much as he can, but also have this kind of strong will about him. Because he has looked after him for so long, he's been a single parent for a long time, and because Christopher's quite difficult to look after, I feel like Ed definitely needed to feel a bit stronger in himself, I guess. Roger was pretty good, but wasn't quite as... Like, I imagined Roger to be really angry. Well, maybe not angry as such, but I guess a little bit violent. I don't know, I kind of wanted him to be the antagonist of the entire piece and no one really to like him that much, and wonder why Judy had gone off with him, because in a way he kind of destroyed their family. So I feel like he never really got that's what I wanted. My Siobhan for the most part was fairly good. However, while she took on some of the things that I said, there were just some bits that she just wasn't quite as caring as I thought she should be. And there are some lines that I feel like she needed to distinguish from each other, because some of them were very much factual and just telling Christopher how it is and stuff like that. But in the things where she actually had to look after him and make him realise what's going on and I guess kind of be that motherly role to him, I don't think she ever really understood that, because that's what I had with Siobhan in my mind from the beginning. But overall, I was quite happy with the cast that I got, and I feel like I can definitely work with them quite well for it. It'll just take a bit of getting used to, I guess, and adapting the ideas that I had for Ed and Roger, and figure out how I can use what they look like to kind of really show to the audience what I'm trying to get across. So while I can't initially do it mainly just on looks, I'm going to have to try and push them a lot more with their acting and get that to come across a lot more.